As retired and active police officers, we all know that you can buy gear from a lot of different places, especially online. But I want to remind you of the importance of supporting companies that support law enforcement. I don't know of any company that fits that bill more than Goals. At goals.com, their motto is proud to serve those who serve, which they do every single day. And they walk the talk by supporting dozens of focused organizations like Gold Shields. So when you're looking for gear, support our premier sponsor and go to goals.com. And for our loyal listeners to this show, use the code GOLD15 for 15% off your next purchase until October 31st. Go to goals.com today.
Welcome to Gold Shields. Join NYPD veterans Tom Smith and Dan Murphy. With over 50 years of combined experience chasing drug lords, dismantling cartels, and hunting terrorists. Now they pull back the curtain, sharing raw, unfiltered stories from the front lines and the heroes who stood beside them. No topics off limits. This is real. This is true crime. This is Gold Shields.
Hey, welcome back to Gold Shields. This is Dan Murphy along with my partner in crime, Tom Smith. How are you, my brother? How you doing?
I'm good, man. It's this one's a long-awaited one, and we'll get into that. But just can't wait for this one. Can't wait.
He's a shy guy. We're gonna have to pull him out of his shell, and this is gonna be a fun one. We do heavy shows sometimes, and we do them for the right reasons. And police work can be everything, but police work can also have its other side to it. But there's a lot of things we want to touch on with our guest today. And Tom, tell us, who do we have?
Yeah. Tom Rizzo is a fixture and someone to really look up to. And here's why. First of all, he's the busiest guy on planet Earth. And that's why we're happy that he actually got on with us today. But here's why Tommy is different and someone we wanted to have on. You can do all you want in the police department, and accolades and all that, and Tommy getting into the National Law Enforcement Officers Hall of Fame this year and all that. But Dan and I have talked about this so much. When you have a certain set of skills and a leadership posture, and you don't share that with other cops or rookies or whatever, then what are you doing? There's no use in learning everything you have and not passing it on that cops can get better. And that's what Tom Rizzo does in his programs, in his training and all that with the Ivory Tower, which we're going to get into, which is monstrous. But we're just happy to have Tom Rizzo here today from, all his greatness on Patrol Live and everything else. Tommy, it's a pleasure, buddy. Welcome to Gold Shields.
No, listen, I'm honored. I always feel as if I don't, deserve any type of recognition, like you say, and just to have the relationships over the opportunities to be on something like this and just to get our word out there collectively, like what we're doing, I'm honored. So it's such a pleasure to finally make this happen. I so apologize with all my craziness, but couldn't be happier to be here.
Well, we're thrilled to have you, Tom. It's an honor. And, I was just talking before. I saw you at CrimeCon running around. It was pretty funny. There was a fluttering, if that's a word, of females running after you. Oh, it's Tom Rizzo. Oh, it's him. Rock star status at CrimeCon, which is kind of funny, but it was true.
He's got the best smile on planet Earth, man. Yeah. What are you kidding? It's like a rope. Tom smiles, and it's a rope of just pulling people towards the smile.
Yeah, but you guys saw, I had no idea that that was such a thing with the true crime following and I was shocked. Like the network went over and beyond with the advertising for the show. So that was the funniest part. Even the driver from the airport that was dropping me off, he was like, man, you look like that guy that's on the door. And I was like, oh yeah, look at that. And he's like, he goes, even the tattoos look close. He's like, you should be good. I was like, yeah, man, I'm just here to play golf. He's it was funny. It was good. It was funny.
So you've been in law enforcement 25 years, Howell Township, New Jersey. How did that start? Tell us a bit about that.
So my grandfather, God rest his soul, was NYPD. I'm just blue blood, blue born. My father took every civil service test there was. That's the way, we came up. First one that called for him was transit. So he became a bus driver in New York City. So I grew up in Staten Island, did my thing. I wanted to follow in my grandfather's footsteps. I'm his namesake. but life took a weird turn. I went down to Florida, University of Central Florida. I wanted to play ball. It was just a pipe dream of mine. I knew it was never going to put food on a table. But my parents were liars. What happened was my dad was lying, and my mother, I'm a mama's boy, Italian from New York. My mother, was diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer, but I didn't know what metastatic meant. So they just said, she's got a lump in her breast. This is what happens. They refused to take me back home. They were lying to me, told me it wasn't going to be a big deal. So I started off my college career. And then what happened was I ended up finally finding out the secret. I couldn't afford anything. I was only on a partial scholarship, so I couldn't afford to come home and do anything like that. So they were able to hold it secret from me that she was terminally ill. And my father got scammed by a cancer, I won't call them cancer helpers, but almost lost our home. So I went behind their back and I joined the military. I joined the Army. I went off to Fort Benning, Georgia. I have love and respect and such, honor and my God, such a place in my heart for the military. It just wasn't what my path was supposed to be. To make a long story short, I missed my deployment. My CO let me come home. My mother took a real tailspin. So I was able to be with my mother for her final days. And September 11th happened, and it was everybody up in the Northeast. I didn't hear from my father for 2.5 days. He was there, right actually next to the one tower, bunkered, hunkered down in the subway. We assumed him to be dead. So everybody just joined, where I was. It was either one thing, military or police. I transitioned out of active into reserve. I missed my deployment to Ramadi, 551 days. I was getting geared up. And I had to, it was like, all right, then I have to stay here local. Now I have, wreckage to clean up, literally. And that's what I did. I went into my first department, never even stepped foot in the town before. It was a 35-man police department. And like I said, right after September 11th, the trunk monkey could have gotten hired. I wasn't special. But I joined there. I spent 3 years there, and then I transferred to Howell. And as Tom knows, I talk about this. I was the first person in that department's history to transfer. I took a $25,000 pay cut, and everybody thought I was crazy. But that's how I started my journey on not having people say, hey, we're happy for you, or hey, we believe in you. So all the way back when is when I started like, no, this is supposed to be like this. Not because I know better, but I always said, no, the Easter Bunny's real. And that's why I like to do what I do. So I started it way back then and came to Howell, and I shot up the ranks, and this is where I am now. But I've made every mistake there is in the book. And that's why it's tattooed on my body, perfectly imperfect, because I have more mistakes and more shots that I've taken and missed than shots that I've taken and made, for sure.
Yeah, but the difference is, with you and other police officers, we've all, listen, if you don't make mistakes in law enforcement, you're not doing it right. Something's not right.
Remember that time I made one?
You made one that I remember. I wrote it down too.
The one.
Yeah. Lasted 11 years.
I wrote it down, so I'll look that one up. But, it's learning from those. It's not just taking it and going, okay, I screwed up. Tomorrow's, we'll just do the same thing tomorrow. It's learning from that and making yourself better, and you rising through the ranks of, up to captain, which is both above Dan and I. So we have to say, sir, I guess, Dan.
Oh, yeah. You know me.
Yeah, right.
I salute. But you know what though, Tom? It was funny. My then wife, and I'll get to that, but thought I was crazy. I never wanted to be promoted. I wanted to do drugs. I wanted that was my passion. I started making a name for myself doing that. It's when I had a sergeant that gave me such a hard time. So my attitude was I could either fight right every day and then just, and have all my good work displaced and misappropriated as to insubordinate, or I'm a problem child, or I could say F it. So with the minimal age, ability, and eligibility, they didn't know me for my first test. So politics couldn't hurt me. And I came out and I crushed. They didn't know what to do with me. I was looking at a $40,000 overnight raise. and they didn't know what to do with me because I met the eligibility by this. And I never wanted rank. You know what I wanted? To be led. That was it.
I think a lot of us want it to be led too. And so often in any profession, not just law enforcement, you get disappointed by people who you think should, or who are in positions where they should be leading, and they're letting things happen, or they're misleading them, so to speak. But you learned a lot. You took the rank. I think sergeant for me was more for the pay raise than anything else. And that's where I stopped, because I wanted to have my hands on. I wanted to be out in the field doing stuff. I wanted to be doing cases. I didn't want to be sitting there doing administrative stuff. And that kind of stuff frustrated me. But one of the good things about it was in the NYPD, there was now several thousand less people I had to salute. So that was one benefit to it. That's
But you know what's funny though, Dan? That's how I created friends and at the same time created enemies though. And I don't say this to boast. I say this because I created a crime suppression unit as a lieutenant. I was doing it informally as a sergeant with a good group of proactive guys. And then I'll get to what happened with me with my promotion. So it's time to go for lieutenant. Everybody had me pegged. All right, this guy's going to kill it. During the promotional process, I became a father already to 2 kids. And then what happened was my then wife, she was a hairstylist turned salon owner. So I'm working midnights and I'm building the hair salon for her. So I would come off at nights, go do construction, take a power nap, go to work. They announced the lieutenant's test. I'm getting even more heat now as a sergeant because, oh, look at this young sergeant. What does he know? So I was like, all right, screw it. I'm going to do lieutenant. During the promotional test, I did better than when I did sergeant. Everybody's like, there's no way. There's no way. During the process, they changed the seniority points. So I come out, my chief calls me in. He goes, you did it again, man. Number 1, points to the paper. I'm like, oh my God, I got spackle on my face. I was like, I can't believe, I was so worried about this. Turns around, he goes, oh no, but now this is 6 years after I made sergeant. He goes, oh yeah, but look, after we tally seniority, I went from 1 to 3. The guy that went 3, he went from 3 to 1 because of seniority points. So I went, here we go again. But then to make you laugh, I finally make lieutenant, and I have this team now, and we're killing it. My guys tease me. My first year as lieutenant, I started doing administrative stuff. So I was at the lower end of arrests, and they go, oh man, you became a lazy bum. They were just poking me. So I looked at them, I said, okay. So I set the record for on-view arrests for my police department's history as a lieutenant in the calendar. I stopped at September. I said, I'm good. And I just looked at them. I said, we good now? And then I created more enemies because they were like, oh, look at this guy. I was like, I love what I do. So that famous quote by Patton, lead me, follow me, or get out of my way.
When you hear stories like that, it's infuriating, because it's like, and I've said this before, take the New York Yankees in 1996 and being pissed off at Derek Jeter for being a young leader. Oh, we don't want you. You're too much of a showboat. You're too popular. You're too this. We don't want you on the team. It's the same thing. It's the same thing.
But how many times do we see it? Yeah. That's why I'm against. I don't see the funny part about me is I respect the generations that came before. My grandfather, I wear his shield. I mean, he died he had a heart attack, and I did CPR on him as a rookie cop, and I failed. I will never forgive myself for that. I don't care what the doctors say. NYPD, that's all I knew. And then when I come over to the Jersey side, like, it's not about me disrespecting traditional policing or the folks that came before me. I just don't understand, though, why we can't stop and see we are the problem. Beginning and the end of it. I'm not saying just rank. I don't do that. I am rank, like you guys just said, teasing me. Oh, I guess I got to call you sir. Yeah, I take that stuff. I am a part of it then, too. But I'm saying the fact that I'm an outlier because I'm the one calling it. I'm calling me, too.
Looking for powerful defense without the mess? Meet Impact, a revolutionary line of chemical irritants designed for law enforcement, military, and personal protection. With no blowback, no cross-contamination, and easy cleanup, Carry Impact delivers unmatched stopping power without the hassle. Whether you're in the field or on the street, safety should never be compromised. Protect yourself with the next generation of defense. Carry Impact. Stopping power, redefined. Have you ever wished you could go back in time and see the events that shape the true crime cases that fascinate you? With newspapers.com, it's like having a time machine to the past. Dive into more than 1 billion newspaper pages from 1690 to 2025 and relive the headlines that shocked entire towns. Explore newspapers from the US, UK, Canada, Australia, and beyond with a simple search. Read the breaking news as it happened, crime scene reports, witness testimonies, and courtroom drama. Explore forgotten clues and see how the media shaped the narrative of infamous cases. But it's not just the major stories. Newspapers.com lets you dig into local mysteries, missing persons reports, and the small-town scandals that history forgot. It's the closest you can get to being there when it all unfolded. So, if you're ready to dig deeper into the crimes that keep you up at night, start your journey today at newspapers.com. Use the code GOLDSHIELDS for an exclusive 20% discount on your subscription.
Yeah, there's a lot of dysfunction in policing in general, and so much of it has to do with the culture. And there was a lot of weird culture in the NYPD that when I first came on, you're a rookie, you're a piece of garbage, all this kind of stuff. Time on meant everything in terms of getting days off, getting preferential treatment, when in reality, half the guys with a lot of time on, I used to say, wouldn't piss on their own pants if they were on fire, because it was, it's not in my job description. But when you become a boss, all of a sudden, there's a couple of things that become very clear. And I was just a sergeant. But because I was right in the mix with the teams, whether it be in patrol or in a detective capacity, you see right away who's full of shit and who works. And you see who is siding up next to you because they want something and who legitimately wants to be a part of making things better. All this stuff becomes very clear to you. It's the kind of thing where you look at people like, you think you're hiding. You think that I'm a moron. You're doing nothing. And I used to see that and it drove me nuts. And I decided early on, and I heard from good people, you take your workers and you treat them like gold. You pave the path for them so they can make things happen. And then the ones that are obstructionists, they get the crumbs. The ones that don't work, they get nothing. You get nothing. You're going to get crappy evaluations. You sit all day with your feet up reading the newspaper, you get nothing from it.
I got crushed for this because I came right out and I said, I was like, look, my attitude is this. I don't like some of you. And it's okay. You don't like me. Let's have the adult conversation. But I love every one of you. And with love comes loyalty and respect. And that is non-negotiable. You're going to give that to me. But like you just said, I had a line, and I've kind of explained it better. But when I first started teaching, I said, the world needs garbage men. I'm okay with it. My uncle, my godfather, New York sanitation, and no sarcasm because I'm Italian, legit sanitation. What I'm saying is, my father was just a bus driver. There are people who are perfectly content with mediocrity. Leaders give themselves ulcers over that, where I say there are plenty of mundane tasks that need to be done. I just don't belabor my A players with the menial tasks. It's not to disrespect. It's not to disregard. Anybody who's mediocre, who decides that they want to come in and get after it, let's do it. But I'm not going to waste my time with people who waste my time. It's just that I'm not mad at you. I will still make sure you got your chow and this and that. No problem. But I give a reciprocity energy to what I get. So you give me 10%, I'm not mad. I give you back my 10. If you give me 90, I give you my 90. Why is that controversial? I'm missing this.
No, you're right. And that's what it's a perfect segue. I want to get into, your training and the Ivory Tower and your preparation of people for leadership roles. And, a couple of things that just jumped off the page, like looking at your website, jumped off the page, and one in particular, and Dan and I don't write a lot of things down when we do the show. We just want it to be authentic and just flowing. But this I had to actually write down. And one of the things you wrote in the description was effective leadership and being a human being. That's like, you don't hear that anywhere. Be a good leader, but also teaching you how to be a good human being. Take us through just that thought, Tommy, but then the overall, Ivory Tower training.
Yeah. So again, let's start with the title, right? A lot of stones thrown at me. Why? Oh, what are you trying to say about administrations? Hello, guys. I'm a captain. What I'm saying is we ascend through years and ranks, and we do this. As we ascend, we separate. I find that to be numero uno as the problem. Secondary problem is the human element. As cliche as it may sound, on patches across the country, what do police officers wear? Protect and serve. What? People. You protect and serve people. You apprehend people. You interact with people. We are in the people business. Why wouldn't it be paramount and number one to enhance your people skills? How? I didn't say everybody gets a hug. I'm saying if you don't know your people within the four walls of the building first and care for them first, you're doing it backwards. What we do, what NYPD does, what happens to me is the outward periphery of the four corners looks nice and neat. The logos, the mission statements, all the outward facing stuff, when internally is in turmoil. That is a Jekyll Hyde. It doesn't work. The places that focus within the four walls and worry about their people's four walls. What do I mean? Their homes, who they are outside of work. It does it by itself then in the customer service that they provide out there. I'm not smart, Tom. This is basic. But everybody fights me because that takes energy. And that takes knowing your people, and it takes courage and vulnerability, which leaders that I've run into are scared to death to do. Call it when we get it wrong, but damn it, we get it right 100 times to every wrong one, and you don't have the courage to say it and act it, and it drives me nuts. That's all people want.
Wow. Very, very well said and very true. I remember it brings to mind something somebody who I consider to be a great leader, and I've been around a lot and watched a lot in my life. One of them was Joe Borelli, who was the chief of detectives in New York City Police Department, and he also had the infamy or the misfortune or fortune, however you call it, to be the guy that the son of Sam was taunting with letters to the Daily News. He was a captain in Queens Detectives at the time. When he was chief of detectives, my partner and I, Billy, we got an award from him for doing something, and we were at an award with a bunch of detectives, and he's at a lunch. So we're at the lunch afterwards, and he says, anybody have any questions for me? I'm your chief of detectives. Ask me. And somebody said, how do you view discipline? And he said, I look at it very simply. Somebody either makes a mistake of the head or a mistake of the heart. If you make a mistake of the head, I wipe you off, re-instruct you, put you back out there, and hopefully you won't do it again. You make a mistake of the heart, you're done. When you have a bad heart, when you intentionally want to get over, when you want to hurt other people, when you have that problem, you are not fixable. You should be removed. And he made no bones about it. And I heard that, and that was 1990, I want to say. So here we are 35 years later. I'll never forget that he said that. And I used it in my corporate roles and everything. I used that as the way I looked at what somebody did or didn't do. And I think it's really important to do that. I think leaders make that mistake all the time. They treat mistakes to the head as though they are catastrophic, massive failures when it's human beings, right?
Dan, that's why, but again, and this is another thing that gets stones thrown at me. We are infatuated with what? Accreditation. Cool. So you give me a policy manual that's this big now. Okay. Excellent. It is physically, physiologically, mentally, emotionally impossible to be compliant with a book like this ever. It's impossible. But what do we do when you have a deviation from one of those? We vilify you where everyone knows it's impossible. Would you agree, with respect to guys like us, meaning when we first started, would you agree the job's harder on these kids now? And I don't mean to say kids like nasty, but I'm saying, guys, if we can't agree, the way society is, technology, how much is expected of them, the microscope, it's harder. And I get the older guys and girls that relax. I'm saying, guys, how are you going to lead them if you can't identify? It's harder. It's just harder. So it's incumbent upon us to take that human element into account. And what kills me is everybody has the room in their budget for it. Everybody does.
Right. Absolutely. But they got to take it serious. They have to understand what it means and how important it is. It's not just taking a test and throwing stripes on your shirt. Cool. There's a whole nother aspect of that. I was lucky as hell. And he's going to get pissed at me, but I don't give a shit. Danny was one of those leaders. And the reason Danny and I are friends 25 years later after I worked for him is because of that. Because not only did he have held us responsible for our actions, but he was fair. He treated us like human beings. He taught us what to do, how to do it, and how to do it the right way. And again, I'm not saying it because he's my partner. It's just the truth, and more young supervisors need to understand that. There's a whole nother aspect of life than just do this report right, go take care of that car stop, go do this. There's a whole nother aspect of it. And thankfully, you're actually bringing this out. So the one question I have, how many departments have you hit? How many different?
So I go by state. I've been to 46 states. And again, you know what's cool? Every time I do it, I say I want one result. I want just one person. I don't care if it's I'm in front of 1,000 people. I don't care if I'm in front of 10. I just want one person to say, okay, yeah, you adjusted my dial. And that's it. Because look, man, I go all over every mistake I've made professionally, but then more importantly, personally. I know what it's like now to wake up on Christmas morning and not be with my children. And I don't have a sexy story. I didn't step out. I wasn't an abuser. I wasn't a gambler. What I was something that I think a lot of police officers are. I was a person who, number one, believed that work would translate into who I am. So now I have a different mentality. I hope that being good as a cop makes me better as a person, as a father, as a former spouse. I hope that when I show folks that, maybe, just maybe, we don't ask the questions that we don't want to hear the answers to. So like for me, I say now, well, maybe, just maybe, before I do anything now, I consult with the people that I proclaim to be my VIPs. And that now is my 4 children. So I say, hey, Dad's got this opportunity. What do you guys think? Because, hey, this is what this could mean. Sometimes I find out with them, all right, well, that's really not what no, we're good. We'd rather actually just spend a day and go to the movies with you. Okay. So what I'm saying is, and then imagine how much better of a freaking cop I could be when that's in alignment. We pretend all the time that that's not sitting there bleeding onto our tour of duty. Come on, man. You could deny it, or do we want to get real and get better at it? We can't hide it anymore. You guys are New York fellas. You're going to tell me, where can you hide? It's on social media. It's on the internet. It's at their fingertips. So what are we going to do? Pretend our families don't see the stuff that we're dealing with? And I don't mean that for the checkbox garbage. Oh, the terrible things we see and experience, the dangerous crimes. No, they see Jesus, man. And you know what I teach in one of my classes, Tom? You'll like this. I say, be careful what you say at home. What do you mean? Okay, how many of us? This was me. I'll own it. This MFer, this boss, this guy, this bastard, this bitch. Now, a month from now, oh, hey, guys, I just got the invite. It's the banquet. It's the barbecue. And you know what I would get from my ex? I don't want to go to that. What do you mean? This is what I do for a living. If we don't go, it looks bad. Tom, why do you want to bring me and our children around the people that you just were saying, but blah, 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 blah? And you know what that turned into for me? You're not supporting me. You don't understand. It's a big blue family. And what are we doing, man? What are we doing? So I say, even if you're going through that hard time at work, man, just then at least own what it is you say at home. Don't fight with your woman. Don't fight with your man when they're not jumping to go get the gown on to go to the gala with the people that you just swore you'd knock out if you had the opportunity to. Let's have the conversation. I know. Heaven forbid that's not in the curriculum at our national academies. I know. But you know damn well it's happening from a precinct in NYPD to my building. It doesn't matter what patch you wear. And I say this. So, yeah, that's how I'm successful with my message, because wherever I go, we assimilate. We're all the same damn thing. We only work out our biceps. We get the same damn haircut. We get 5'11" underpants. Let's just call it for what it is. We're going to pretend it's so different? Stop. It's the same problems in every hallway, but we just don't want to identify, like in any good AA program. Hello, I've been an addict for X amount of years. Let's just break the cycle.
Wow.
You know, we talk all the time about breaking cycles and about breaking down stigmas and things like that, and getting to the heart and the truth of the matter. And the biggest thing behind all of that is the fact that cops and members of first responders, military, all just people, just human beings trying to do the best in the situation. And if they don't have the tools to do that, and we've talked about this, Tom, about how they can teach you all day long how to shoot a gun, drive a car, interview somebody, write notes, do reports, all that stuff, all cop stuff is basic. But the number one thing that I think needs training on is how to take care of yourself and how to learn how to be a real human being at work and then at home. Because the at-home stuff is where it crumbles. And when home is crumbling because you don't know how to be at home and you only know how to bark at people or yell or curse at people, and you go home and home crumbles, well, then work crumbles too. And then you crumble first.
But then, I mean, like, look at us, right? This is why I say all the time. So I created a diplomacy program. I said every department has experts. What do you mean? If heaven forbid you get involved in a shooting, what do you have? You have a hallway full of a debrief team based normally, and, you know, comprised in that crisis debrief is going to be a previous officer involved in an OIS, right? I mean, so that's what they do. Great. And I'm not against it. But I go, but what happens dozens and dozens more times on the daily within a building? There's somebody who's having a baby for the first time. There's somebody who's caring for a loved one. There's somebody who's having a financial difficulty. There's somebody who's painting a room that, you know, you're going at work, you're holding your head thinking about what it is there, right? So I say, how about we identify? I don't care if you got a 62 on a sergeant's test. You might be the number one guy or girl who knows mortgages in and out. So now, if I know I have two members on my team that are buying homes, I remember what it was to be stressed out over that. So what do? I say, hey, there's this guy, Tom Smith. This is the guy. He's one of you, so he knows what it is you're dealing with. He knows what it is we make. Here you go. Go chat it up. Go ahead. And I say this, we have diplomats. We have people who have been through a divorce. We pretend as if that's not as critical to debrief. What are you talking about? I'm not negating the importance of critical incident debrief. I know it, you know it. I'm saying what happens in volumes of more frequency that erodes at the department culture or the mission buy-in. It's these things. And we all have the experts. You don't have to go reach out nationally. You have them within your hallways. Use them.
You know, we could do a 4-hour show just on what we just talked about with everything all of us have gone through. But there's a whole nother aspect of Tom Rizzo that I want to get to. But before I do that, really quick, just want to thank our premier sponsor, Goals. Goals.com. Make sure you go to their website, check them out, use our promo code GOLD15. You get 15% off your purchase. That's something they did for us that we give to you for supporting us and being in our corner, and we really appreciate it. And Goals is the best out there. All right, GOLD15, 15% off. And as usual, make sure you go to our website, go to YouTube, and check us out and keep supporting us. Now we're going to get into, Tom Rizzo, media star. And, like Dan said, when you showed up to CrimeCon and you have an entourage of people, because there's posters of Tom Rizzo all over the place from on Patrol Live.
That's stupid.
So Paw Patrol Live. Let's go through that. Getting hooked up with them and your experience with now watching a lot of different things that go on patrol and having to kind of comment on it. Take us through all that, Tom.
I'll make you laugh. So they reach out on LinkedIn. There was several hundred that they reached out to. So I'm like, this has got to be some type of spoof. So they set up like a call, a Zoom, and they want to interview you. So when I get on it, I'm thinking the whole time, typical. I mean, I'm at my low, right? I'm going through my divorce. Work is punishing the hell out of me because the antithesis to me got the job. I was promised the job as chief. Didn't work out. Politics reared their ugly head. So the guy opposite me got the job, and it was open season on me. So when you talk about at your low, and I openly share a battle with mental health. So, we could end the day on that. I'll tell you that story. But this LinkedIn interview, Zoom interview, and I made a joke. I was teasing them. I said, oh, yeah, so use of force, for instance. I said, yeah, when nobody's around, no cameras, you fire a couple rounds up in the air and you just, I said, you set the tone. And they're staring at me like appalled. And I'm like, that's not what you want on television? And they start laughing, and now they realize how silly I'm being. So I go through the interview. I do my thing to show I have police knowledge, whatever. I'm thinking again, never going to hear another thing. Pleasantly surprised I get invited. There's 20-something people to come in and do chemistry tests. So you film, not for television, but the producers to watch you do a couple segments. So I'm the first to go. I see the list of who's coming. I'm like, I have no shot. There's officers from places like I said, big, huge departments that have more experience than me. I'm like, all right, I'm the first to go. And I was like, all right, I'm packing my stuff. They said, we think you should stick around. I said, nah, I promised my daughter I'd take her to the movies. And they were like, no, we really think you should stick around. I was like, yeah, no, I promised my daughter. I said, and they don't know what's going on in my personal life. And they were like, no, like we really, they're like holding me. I said, I appreciate, hey, whatever it is you're trying to tell me, I hope I get considered, but I'm going to check out. So I did it. And next thing I know, a phone call comes just a few weeks after in the first week of December of 23. And they said, we want you to come in and do a live show. And I was like, you're kidding me. So when I came, I brought custom made pastries and I gave them to the whole studio crew. And they were like, what's this for? Nobody's ever done this. I said, well, my mother always told me, if you're ever going to go somewhere, leave us, always make sure that if it's going to be your first and your last opportunity. So I'm thinking, if I screw this up, leave a sweet impression on people, coining the word sweet. And one thing led to another. And next thing I know, the guest appearances kept going in frequency. And then I was offered the full time. And it was, again, it's surreal. It's surreal. I tell you this to bring it full circle. It was a restoration mission. And what I mean by that is it restored my faith in that we are beloved. We are supported. There are people throughout so if there's one thing that I say besides the opportunity for me, is to advocate for police, to explain why police do what they do, and then to remind police wherever I go, I am telling you, I have it proof and testimonial proof we are supported.
Patriot is a premium whiskey hard seltzer. We've carefully crafted 4 flavors that not only taste exceptional, but can be enjoyed on any occasion, anytime. We're committed to giving back 5% of all profits to the core groups we call the backbone of America. We are proud to help those who serve our great country. This is America's Seltzer, the brand that stands for quality, community, and the American spirit.
When it comes to the safety of law enforcement, first responders, and military personnel, every moment counts, especially in the dark. Streamlight provides the reliable, high-performance lighting solutions that these heroes trust in the most dangerous situations, whether it's a car stop, navigating dark alleyways, or exploring abandoned buildings. With Streamlight by their side, our heroes can tackle challenges with confidence, knowing they have the power of advanced lighting technology to guide them. From the first responders on the front lines to the law enforcement officers ensuring our safety, Streamlight is there to make every mission a little easier and much safer. Join us in supporting those who protect us. Visit streamlight.com to discover how you can be part of the team keeping our heroes safe. Because when they shine, we all shine.
Very, very well said. Very well said. Something that you can't notice, anybody who's listening to this on one of those platforms won't see. And if you check into YouTube, you'll see that behind Tom's head, there's only one thing on the wall, and it's a picture of Stallone playing Rocky. And I can't read what of his many quotes from that series is up there, but explain that to us. There's a reason why you have that as your background.
Yeah. Well, it says, if you can't see, first of all, I mean, what Italian American, wouldn't have, Sly Stallone as their hero, right? I mean, come on now, let's be fair. So, no, in sincerity, it's because of, and this is something I only recently started talking about, was with mental health. I would be somewhat disingenuous where I would cover it in a general perspective. But then it went into a personal perspective. And what it says is about, it's not about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and just keep moving forward. That's how winning's done. When I got to my lowest of my lowest of my low, I made the ultimate decision that I guess the only way, I felt like everything near and dear to me, whatever I touched, I torched. And I say that wherever I go. Whatever I touched, I torched. So at work, there were people affiliated to me that when things went off to the side were hurt because of their affiliation to me. At home, I made a promise. I brought 4 beautiful babies into this world, and the promise I made is that they'd have a nuclear family. And again, I failed at that. So whoever it is I touched, that, and I say touch as far as who touched my heart, that was the heart I intended to touch, I torched. So I made the ultimate decision that, I know one way to make sure I never do this again. And it was the day I was turning over the keys to the home that I basically built for them because it was sold. And the home was empty. And, it's funny. He doesn't know this yet, and I will tell him. But my son saved my life. I looked out. The little bastard rode his bike and followed me. I didn't know that he did. And I looked at and I was doing my final lap. And I made the decision that, that I've reached the end of my road. And I looked out onto the patio and I see a bicycle. And I'm like, the hell is a bike? And next thing I know, he comes in from another hallway. He goes, Dad, he goes, yeah, why is there, why do you have a box with a handgun in it here? And I said, you know what? And only time I've ever lied to my son, I said, son, I am so glad I came back to check, the safe. I said, I left my off-duty gun here. My God, I said, I'm meeting with the realtor. He goes, I know. He goes, I knew it was going to be a hard day on you. He goes, that's why, I followed you. I didn't want you to be alone. So he doesn't know. And I'll tell him when I think the time is right, what happened that day. And that was the day that I recognized that, I guess, and I share this in my class at the end, that painting, Checkmate. And it's a famous painting. You can look it up and see the symbolism behind it. But again, long story short, it's about, you always look at the pieces that you lost. I say every day we have a chessboard that we got to look at in our hands. And we say the pieces that we lost, that's always the hand that we focus on, is what we've lost. When we don't realize maybe the same moves that put us into our predicament could be the same overwhelming power to get ourselves out of our predicament. So, life will corner you, and the darkness and all the bad stuff will corner you into falsely believing that you're in checkmate and you don't have any other moves. But I found that even a pawn on a chessboard can traverse the board, albeit only one move at a time, but then regain some of those valuable pieces.
You are, I have to admit, got more out of this interview than I ever thought. I mean, your passion and love for this job, and it's not just the job, it's every aspect of the job. Just like I said, there's not, this job is not one dimensional. There are so many avenues and so many parts to it. And you just have this overwhelming love for it and respect for it that is contagious. You're a special guy, Tommy.
Well, you know what it is, though, Tom? I don't look at it that way. I look at, I know for a fact, like I say this openly, I couldn't do what you guys did. I say it all the time. I'm blessed. I work in an area that, number one, we're supported. It's large. It's 60-something square miles, but I did that because I liked the diversity of interstate, state highway, neighborhood. So I didn't have to constantly be in the thick of it. I don't know that I would have been able to endure that. But what I do feel, and I hope it rings true as to your compliment, is that it doesn't matter where you are. I just believe that it is the best job in the world, but I look at it as, but I just wish people knew what it is, meaning what is the job? And that's where I say, where we convolute that and we blur those lines, that's where we run into trouble. So I say all the time, do we always get it right? Of course not. Neither does any other industry. But I do know this. Any other industry that's been dealt what we've been dealt, or as ill prepared as we've been to deal with what we deal with, would have went bankrupt a long time ago. So yes, do I celebrate a C- sometimes that we rank? I certainly do, as does a politician who claps their hands with a 40-something% approval rating. So I say what's good for you, it might just be good for us too.
You know, I almost don't know what to say after that, except to say it's rare when you meet somebody who has a combination of gifts and is so willing to share them. Those gifts being the insight to look at a profession and to break it down to its most basic elements, which is the people doing it and the people that are being served by it. What are the needs of both? What's the reality of both, as opposed to this preconceived notion that everybody in the street's a dirtbag and every cop is a great guy and nobody's got any problems and all this other crap that hasn't gotten us anywhere. But you're looking at it honestly. You're one of those guys that's got the courage to look at it honestly, has the ability to verbalize it so well, and the passion to share it so that the profession and the people in it get better and are better in everything. And I salute you for that. And wow, like Tom said, I'll be watching this episode, reading it back just to pick up on some of the stuff you said. But wow, you got to tell us how people can learn more about On Patrol Live is one thing, but how can they learn more about your training, what you do, and Tom Rizzo in general?
Yeah, so, well, I'm an open book. So that's one of the things that I never say I'm better than anybody. But what I say that makes me unique is every time I do a training is I put my personal information up there. I do a lot on Instagram. So I'm at Tom Rizzo 7070. And I do videos. I have the website, which is easy. It's just thomasrizzo.com. But what I do is I put my personal information up there and I make myself readily available. I think availability is what, can be a superpower. And I think that, so if anyone reaches out to me, and I mean anybody, my answer is real simple and they need something as far as help. I'm honored that they would reach out to me, but I tax them. And the first question I always ask is, if I help you, who are you going to help? And I feel like paying it forward fills my tank. So if you can identify somebody you're going to help, I'll give you the shirt off my back. The thing I never say to somebody is no, or I don't know. So you could call me, Tom could call me today and say, hey, Tom, I forgot to ask you, what's the difference between igneous and metamorphic rock? I'm going to say, I have no idea, but I'll go find out. So I'm resourceful. And that's what I think is a superpower. And I think if more of us would do that for us, I think it would just be a better industry and a better place and make us better versions of ourselves so that we can see and get the best out of other people. So if I can accommodate and people reach out and they want me to do a seminar, I welcome everybody in my seminars, all ranks. And then I say I pray for free, spouses, significant others, depending on age, parents, siblings, whatever the dynamic is, I want to come because I like to bring people back together by using me as a pincushion to show those loved ones, I know how you're feeling. I'm a recovering jerk. And that's what I say. I'm in recovery. I'm not recovered, but I'm recovering. So I kind of say what I know my brother and sister officer wants to say, and maybe they just haven't reached that pinnacle moment yet. So if I could do it for them and advocate, that's the passion that I've matched now to a purpose.
That's amazing. Amen. ThomasRizzo.com. Just everyone out there, give you 3 quick examples of what this training has done and three statements that people have made after doing this training. One was love being a cop again. The other one was life-changing. Another statement was, now that I show up to a scene, the cops that work for me respect me more. I mean, you can't get more than that, out of a training of how to be a leader than what Tom is providing. So make sure everyone goes to thomasrizzo.com. All his contact info is there. Get him to your department and get your department in line with the way Tom thinks. And Tom, listen, this was a pleasure. It was certainly well worth the wait, brother. That's for sure.
No, and again, I apologize. It was so difficult to do, but I can't thank you guys enough. I look at every obstacle that I face as an opportunity. And again, the schedule obstacle faced, turned into this opportunity. And I'm like I said, you guys have my heart, obviously, because of your backgrounds, regardless. But as human beings, you guys are better human beings than you are cops. So for that, I thank you for the relationship, for sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
The great ones are always humble. We say that, but thank you once again. We won't hold him up. He's got someplace he has to be. He's a busy man. Tom, thank you so much on behalf of our audience for giving us your time, your wisdom, and your heart and soul and your passion. Thank you. And continue to stay safe as you continue to serve the people of New Jersey. Thank you.
Right.
So hang on for 1 second. Be right with you. Don't go anywhere because you're going to like this part. This is the part we just pray for our law enforcement officers out there. Say a prayer for them. Say hi to them on the street. Pray for their families because everyone goes through this job, both in law enforcement and the military, and they all need our support, all need our prayers. So please keep them in mind every day. Give them a wave on the street because you have no idea what that does to someone's day. Just be with them. And again, for Tom Rizzo, an outstanding interview and guest. Thank you again. And friend, which is even more important than everything else. My partner, Dan Murphy. This is Tom Smith. Everyone, please stay safe. Don't go anywhere. We got overtime coming up, and we'll see everybody soon.
Hey, as promised, we are back with OT, overtime. Cops love overtime, don't they, Tom? What else do they love?
They love Gold Shields overtime more than just regular overtime.
That's right. Because we pay with dividends. Yeah. And we're tax-free for that matter. Tom Rizzo, literally there are certain guests we have when it's time, there's a break, there's a question needs to be asked or a statement made. I don't know what to say because I was still digesting what he just said. The wisdom and the insight that he has is so refreshing.
Yep. And you know what? I mean, I don't know about you, but I found myself 30, both of us, you're almost 40, 35 years for me, just being involved, not just the job, but being involved in everything we're still involved in. And you hear things that I haven't heard before from him. Different takes on things, different angles of how to do something, and that's being so innovative and being on top of what's going on the street today and what's needed. And he is all over that, not to mention articulate as all hell.
Oh, my God. Yeah. Charismatic, a great speaker, a great connector. You can tell when he talks to an audience, he's connecting with them.
Ugh.
And he's talking on subjects that are so important and so vital as a foundational backbone piece of this profession that you have got to care about each other, understand each other, look out as a leader for your people. They are your mission. Number one, first and foremost. And he gets that and he shares it. And wow. Just an incredibly powerful conversation with somebody who, if he decides to stay for the rest of his professional career in law enforcement, great for us. If he doesn't, I know he will still contribute.
Oh yeah, that's never stopping. He just has a flavor for it, and he has a vision for it. And it's just going to be interesting what the next step is. Like he has, thomasrizzo.com and his Instagram training things he does and all that. But I mean, he has so much of a future. The horizon is anything he wants, man. He's that guy that you would just love to go to one of his classes and sit there for a day.
Yep. And he's the humble guy who admits readily and upfront, I screwed up so much. I own all of it, and it's the only way to get better. And I love that mentality. I love when people break things down to their basic elements and say, this is what's always been believed and it's always been done. And it isn't working. Let's look at it. Let's revisit it. I love that.
Yeah.
And he's doing it for the right reasons.
Oh, yeah. And, and it's too bad we just, he's got a crazy schedule. So that was a big thing getting him on the show. I think we canceled had to reschedule, I think, 3 different times with him. And understandable. I mean, he is who he is, and he's running all over the place. And I wish we could have gotten more into the Hall of Fame and his induction and what that meant to him and everything. But I don't think Tom's going anywhere. We could have him on again, do something else with him. But he's he's someone who gets it, and gets it enough. Like we said in the beginning of the show, Dan, if you have all this in you and you don't pass it on, what's the use?
What is the use?
Right. And he gets that.
Yeah. He gets that. And, everything he's doing is to benefit the current and the future men and women who are out there protecting society. And when those folks are led better and treated better, and they will perform better, and society as a whole gets better when their policing have their act together. Because far too many cops in this country are underappreciated, and not just on the street, in their own station houses.
Man,
they walk in and it's like they're treated like garbage, and it's like, what are we doing? And he gets it. He gets it. You cannot do that.
Right. I mean, think about, go back to you being a rookie, me being a rookie, and you walked into the precinct and you saw who was working that day. You went, okay, cool. Why was that?
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't just because that sergeant was a good guy. You knew, all right, something is probably going to happen tonight that we're going to need a good leader, and he's here tonight, or she's here tonight. I mean, that's the way I was, oh, great, we're working with I knew my sergeant was the best around. So it was always who else was working that night. And you'd see like another good sergeant go, okay, we're good tonight.
Yeah, something happens tonight. We know we're in good hands. And, leadership sometimes in law enforcement comes down to, if that boss were to grab you at 2:00 in the morning and say, follow me, we got to go do this, you would just follow them and do it. You wouldn't be like, wait, where are we going? What are we doing? Well, why are we doing this? And no, the right boss, you would just say, believe me, I got you. I'm with you because I trust you. Yeah, and that's what it all comes down to.
No doubt.
They have your best interest. They know what they're doing. Bingo. That's what you want. And any of the other ones, I remember being a rookie. The very first arrest I made, go up in front of the desk in the 90th precinct 41 years ago this past summer, standing in front of an old Irish lieutenant who probably had a prostate the size of Bolivia and was not in a good mood, and barked at me for 5 minutes because I did the carnal sin of standing in front of his desk with a prisoner looking to get him logged in the book.
Right.
That's all I did. But the impression that left on me was like, I don't even want to look at this guy. If this guy's car was broken down in a snowstorm, I would drive around it. You don't treat people that way.
No doubt. Well, that was a eye-opening and great interview with Tom. So we thank him for that. And who do we got to thank for our overtime segment, Dan?
Yeah, as always, our sponsors of the overtime segment, we can't thank them enough. FairlineServices.com. Fairline Security Services, Upper Midwest based, but national in reach. They have basically anything you may want or need in the security services world, from guard services to threat assessments to a wide variety of services. Look them up online. These are high quality, great people who do an amazing job and who I trust implicitly. I have worked with them before. I've consulted with them, full transparency, and they are amazing. Put your hands in Fairline Security, FairlineServices.com. Any needs you have, run it past them. You might be very happy you did.
No doubt about it. And one more time for goals.com, tacticalgear.com. Please check them out. Support them. Our merchandise at JUSASKJAN.com. JustAskJan.com for all our merchandise and apparel, which you can get on our website. Go to TheGoldShieldShow.com, go up to apparel. That is a direct link to the merchandise. So just hit us up on there. And Dan,
we got some cool stuff there, Tom. I mean, some of this merchandise is cool stuff.
More to come. There's some designs going on. There's some good stuff coming up. I know there's not. Well, yep. Janet mentioned a little something about holiday stuff, so we're a little excited about that. But we got our graphic designer coming up with some new stuff. So it's going to be pretty cool. We're very excited about it. And thank Jan Boone for that. So please check her out. JustAskJan.com.
All right.
Perfect. Dan, have a good one, my man.
Yep. Thank you. And thanks to our listeners. We wouldn't have anything without you guys and girls. We appreciate everyone who tunes in. And I really appreciate when people say, hey, I listened to your show. It's great. means a lot to us because Tom and I, we don't do this so people will make us celebrities because we're far from that. We're just two guys who want to do the right thing with a platform. And we're trying to do the right thing for a profession we love and for the men and women in it, as well as those we respect. There's things like the military service and even people who've survived crime. We're trying to tell great stories. We're trying to educate. We're trying to lift up a profession in the eyes of all, one that needs being lifted up.
That about sums it up, brother.
Yep. All right. Everybody have a great afternoon, evening, morning, whenever it is you're listening to us. And Tom, I will talk to you soon.
You got it. Everyone stay safe out there. We'll see you soon.